Is it the end of the old guard? Another figure drops on this week's episode of the Indie Ball Report podcast. We're back, episode number 349 of the Indie Ball Report podcast. The only show hosted by two Scrampy Hopkins truthers. Christ, I bumbled that, didn't I?
Yeah, you fumbled it. Well, you know, the truth will come out one way or another, no matter how much of a meal you make of it.
Release the draft list. That's the only list we care about here.
Release the expansion location list.
Exactly. But
release the Modesto team name list.
Oh, we'll get to that later. But did you see there was like a whole expansion discussion kicking up on Twitter recently?
Yeah, and I really wanted to engage with it, but like it was a really busy week, and I felt bad, and I had to catch up on so many messages in the conversation, and frankly, I didn't find many of the locations feasible enough to engage with, so I just kind of let the whole thing fly by, and I felt bad because this conversation I'm typically very excited about, but I couldn't. It was such a busy week, and once I started having the conversation, I would be like cooking way more of my time. Like I know I would just be, you know.
Look, we know
one of those ones where you end up too deep in a conversation online, and all of a sudden now you're just like constantly responding to things, and I don't know. That's why I stay at arm's length from the Indie Ball Discord chat that we have going on, because I'll like. Oh,
I don't even have.
It becomes Q&A with me.
Like, speaking of which, we're going to be doing the Q&A in about a month from now, so send those questions.
Yeah, love it.
I'm going to play that more at the end of the show here, but yeah, I agree. A lot of those locations, I was like, I don't even think there's a ballpark there. And like I saw someone say Nashville, I was like, my brother in Christ, there is a AAA team in Nashville.
Bro, if there's a new team from Nashville, it's a major league team.
Exactly. I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but like, can we not, please?
Mm-hmm.
Can we focus on like relatively new constructed ballparks with viable fan bases, please?
Right.
Right. We're kind of looking for things that
anyway, weird start to this by us, by the way.
Yeah, you know, we're an episode away from 350, which is a pretty big one. We're like 4 months away from hitting one episode for every single day of the year. For those that want to torture themselves, you know, it's a fun time here.
It's one way to live a nightmare.
Exactly. Here, you know, Frank Bolton's now going to resign. That's our segue into that. So it's a whole big thing here. Yeah, no. So Frank Bolton, like the last of the old guards, apparently going to resign as league chair and CEO, transition to a member at large, effective the 1st of January, 2026. York's William Bill Shipley will replace him, unanimously selected by the board. So thoughts, comments, concerns.
I heard it's a move that he's making in order to live out a full year listening to one of our podcast episodes a day. That's just the rumor on the street.
It's really a noble goal, if not stupid.
I do
noble.
Feel like we were just talking about this, which is kind of a little interesting.
We did mention that not that
just
long ago,
last week. Yeah. Was it last week? I think it was last week.
We didn't mention him by name last week, but we have teased the thought of Bolton moving on like a month or so back.
I swear it was in the private equity conversation, maybe. Talking about private equity getting into no, I think it was last week. I was like,
we talked about private equity last week, but I think the explicit, like he's piecing out right when private equity's coming in bit was something that we discussed away from the pod, but we did discuss it recently.
How about that?
But
anyway,
it is an interesting timing to leave, though. I do appreciate a guy that's been here for 30 years, you know, kind of saying, all right, now it's the time for me to step away. I mean, you aren't that much, but it is an interesting time that right when we're starting to get more conglomerates buying teams to say, yeah, no, I don't need to deal with that.
Maybe I don't know.
I mean, kind of.
I don't know that. If I was in his shoes, I don't think that's how I'd view that. But
how would you view it then?
I think I'd view it as potentially a new opportunity, like to bring in more people with money. I mean, let's be honest. If there's a buy-in for teams and leagues, and you have people with like a big bank, that's good for you. And not that he wouldn't still be benefiting from it, because I think he's always going to get the kickback on that, if I remember how the league paperwork works. But it's still, I figured he wanted to be pretty hands-on, unless, of course, he's maybe looking to move on to a different project related to the bigger money people moving in, because this is where I will be doing a deep dive at some point, just like straight up indie ball history, almost like Ken Burns baseball style, like really in the weeds. So maybe I'm going to expose some ignorance to the early days of a couple of the other leagues, but I feel like, has there ever been, somebody who just dumped money heavily into an indie ball project the way he did to start the Atlantic League up? And now he's slowly sort of divested his ownership from Southern Maryland, from all these other spots. Maybe now it's just time he has his stakes and teams in the league that he has, and maybe he wants to sort of financially back another thing, which would be the time to do it. That was my thought. That's honestly where my head went.
See, I'm more viewed as a guy that's got to be in his mid-70s, kind of saying like I don't need the headache anymore because I have 15 other different things around the greater Long Island region. I kind of view it as that.
I think, I don't know. I think if Congress has taught us nothing else, it's that old people aren't thinking about retiring. Old rich people aren't thinking about retiring. They're thinking about their next thing to maintain power and money. And I would, that's not me saying anything bad about him. I would just expect him to, I wouldn't necessarily expect him to be looking to get out of the game. I would maybe be looking. I would not be surprised to hear he's looking for the new project. That's all.
I mean, he's 75 here. Any new project he sees, what are the odds he's seeing it out?
I don't think they think about that.
I mean, fair enough. It's just still to my point. I don't necessarily believe that there's that much more awaiting him. I feel like it's just a matter of kind of in the same way where Miles Wolf kind of divested from everything and backed off and said, I'm done here. I kind of viewed it in the same light there.
Yeah, but this is the guy who, had a split with minor league baseball and then made it his entire thing. You know what I mean? Like, I do think Frank's wired different. I think that's worth considering.
I mean, Miles came from the same background where he spent how much time in minor league ball and then was like, no, I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah, but I think Frank being fueled by spite is a slightly different thing. Like, I just think he's a rare breed. And, I've had positive and negative feelings on him throughout my time with the Atlantic League, but I think generally speaking, I am, if nothing else, impressed. And I just don't see him being like, well, I should be getting out of here. And I don't know. I don't feel, and you know why? Here's why. I don't know why I wouldn't just lead with this, because it's a key thing for understanding where I'm coming from here. Once you're within the league circles, the number of things that he at least reportedly has his hands on is kind of crazy. Like, still, it's always, whenever a decision is made, it's, well, someone liked it. Someone liked that idea, and that's why I went that way. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, I just don't see him fully backing out like that. I mean he's unless there's somewhere else that energy is going to.
He's still a member at large. He still owns the team. It's just he's not the number one guy anymore. But as long as he's in the room, he's not the A1.
Yeah, but I mean, don't you feel like he's still got his guy there? He just has his person who's going to represent him. Was my feel. Hard to get unanimous selection.
That's the thing. Like, I don't disagree with that. I'm more or less just saying, like, he didn't want to be as involved, but now he's at the position where he's like, I can still pretty much get what I want without having to work as hard for it.
Right. I get that. But I mean, I'm saying I think he's still going to be involved. I think that's where we're kind of meeting in the middle, but our understanding of what that looks like might be a little bit different. But I think we both agree. This league will still have Frank Bolton's. We're not done getting Frank Bolton's fingerprints on this league.
No. I mean, this isn't a retirement. This is just I'm backing off. It's like
he's the CEO of the Ducks, which basically means he's the CEO of the league still.
This is Nancy Pelosi not being the speaker for the Dems anymore. That's what this is. She's still in Congress. Yeah. Let's not pretend like she doesn't have the influence. But
yeah, man, she's still insider trading. She's still bringing them bappers around. She knows what she's up to.
Just like, I don't want to have to do all the other bullshit associated with the title anymore. The title doesn't mean that much to me anymore.
Sure, man. Yeah, I know. I feel that, but also like that's what I'm saying is the one thing she definitely doesn't have interest in doing is leaving. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think Frank Bolton's leaving. I think if he's leaving, I never be fully involved in something else.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving, period. I think he's just done with the title and the work that comes with it, but not the influence that comes from it. And he's been there long enough and has his guy in the slot now where it's all well and good for him.
True. No, I get that. I think we're agreeing, so I'll back off of it. I do find it interesting that Bill Shipley's the guy.
Would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think back through so I've heard a lot of things about him, and I'm trying to like filter back through what I know versus what I hear. You know what I mean? So yeah. Before I say too much, but it's a fairly so the Shipleys are big in Pennsylvania. They're like a long time, as I recall, at least as far as I know them, like a long time. Electric and gas energy company in Pennsylvania.
They bring the power.
I think if I recall, they're based out of York, but
power in Pennsylvania.
I know they do oil because they deliver around where I am too. But the point being, it's definitely some solid financial backing there. I'm trying to take a look here, seeing if there's anything available I can confirm. Yeah, I mean, annual revenue on that company is $98 million a year, so like they're doing fine. Yeah, so he's a guy with money, so he's definitely bringing in somebody who he feels can kind of manage large financial projects. I say he's bringing him in because I do think he was probably handpicked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny. I haven't really connected the dots on how, like, if I had to pick while I'm aware of Bill Shipley, I wouldn't have picked him as the guy, but it makes a lot of sense that they would go that way. I've heard about him, but I haven't seen a lot of his work, if that makes sense, at least not that I'm aware of.
It just feels like his name is always coming up in some type of press release. Whenever you would see something come up from the league, it felt like his name was always towards the top. So that's why it made more sense to me.
Yeah, I think, 100%. That's I can back that 100%. But I guess.
So just from the publicity of his name being out there, it felt like it was almost like we're going to get you known so that way you could take over.
Yeah, especially because there just aren't many like finance business type guys hanging around the Atlantic League that are like public. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So I guess there was sort of limited options on that one, but I think, does it say when he joined the ownership group? I think he joined it back in like 2012.
That seems about right.
Yeah. And I know they sponsor the team, and I think they sponsor a lot around this area, but I don't know. That said, I don't have a lot to say on it at this point, but it is sort of, it makes sense that would be the guy. And I could see, Frank being like, yeah, this is a like-minded person. So, yeah, we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be too much of a change for the Atlantic League, not at this point. But it's something to consider as at least a potential harbinger of change further down the road.
Yeah, I do wonder too, if to a degree, if part of the influence behind this move, and we were talking about a second ago when we were going back and forth here with the money being injected and whatnot through a lot of these private equity firms and conglomerate groups. I do wonder, as a matter of, you sense that your influence could be diminished the more that these groups come in.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's just something that he's like, I don't have any interest in dealing with, kind of like how we saw a lot of the older college coaches that had a lot of success, your Sabins, Krzyzewskis, Tony Bennett at Virginia, these types of guys kind of retire and peace out as NIL was picking up. And they were like, this is not what I want to deal with here. Mm-hmm. It was one thing when before, and you kind of had to do it under the table and everything. And like, there's, it was there, but it wasn't there. Now that it's here, it's like, this is not at all what I want. So I do wonder.
Maybe, I don't know if Frank Bolton would shy away from private equity. I think it's seen as an opportunity, man. I mean, we've seen the way the league seems to jump at guys, certain real estate people who may or may not actually be legit. Maybe people from a famous New York East Coast family who may or may not also, have a son who's possibly not legit. I think that's nothing but opportunity for him. I wonder more. Here's if I want to be a little more conspiratorial, right? Any money that comes in will still bolster the piggy bank for Frank. Is it possible that, hey, this is moving in the private equity direction? There are people wanting to get involved with indie ball who are publicly saying they want to own multiple teams. That somebody from a major energy company within your league might have connections to these people, might know them, and maybe, it's a bit of a friendly exchange of, hey, I can bring this to the table. I think I can seal this deal. I can make money for everybody here, but in exchange for that and my services as you're getting older, maybe I'd like to be, maybe I'd like to have your position as you move toward retirement here. I could also see something like that being done behind the scenes. So the private equity connection and the timing, I don't necessarily know is connected, but it is interesting, the timing.
Especially
right as private equity gets involved in indie ball. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So that's where I wonder more about, could it be that sort of exchange instead?
Possible.
I would just say I wouldn't expect Frank to make any moves that weren't bottom line focused. There's something else, I would always say, until proven otherwise.
So you're saying he's Frank bottom line Bolton?
Hey man, I don't hate that. Frankly, I might reuse that another time.
Pretty solid one, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was good. That's good, man.
Every once in a while I haven't, but yeah. To steer this in, to just steer it in a different direction for a second here. Mm-hmm. I will say, and this is a conversation we just had off pod. It is another figure who did have a singular vision that now is, at least on paper, taking more of a backseat role.
Yeah.
And I do question whether that's a positive or negative for the game. And I lean more negative.
Right. Should I give the cliff notes of sort of our main point that we had in that one? Because that was a pre-show conversation.
If you'd like to.
I think the idea basically is just that there's many of the best times that we've seen for indie leagues has come when there is sort of a centralized vision for it, which doesn't necessarily have to be within one person, but it is sure a lot easier to get one person as the central driving force behind a vision rather than getting everybody on board, with the example being, Major League Baseball can hardly get their 30 owners on board and they're all guaranteed a profit and they're all billionaires. And, it should, in theory, worst case scenario, everyone's still making money. When you look at it from an indie ball perspective, yeah, it's less owners to get on board, but you're in much different situations, much different piggy banks. And, some people are losing money every year. Some people are losing money and okay with it. Others are making money, but not a ton. So it's really hard to get everybody sort of lined up and moving the same direction. We talked about how the American Association seems to have had, for the most part, one vision over the past several years, and that's shown good results. The heavily Frank Bolton controlled years of the Atlantic League was really when they were, the driving force in indie ball, it seemed like. I think, again, because it was just a very focused effort where there was a lot of control there. And then the Pioneer League, I mentioned before the show as well. I think those early years of the Pioneer League and indie ball, for as much of a mess as they are now, I think they were doing some pretty inspired work early on in their indie ball foray, when there was a financial underwriting essentially from Major League Baseball that relieved some of the pressure and let ownership groups, I think, get a little more, and not necessarily focus on the money right away. And as things have gone on, they're more and more focused on their money, financial situations, and that's caused more and more voices and dissenting opinions and disagreement about direction and things like that. So that was our thought earlier in this, and I think it's interesting to see, maybe this is the start of a more unified thing. I do think Frank was also, he's a bit of a divisive character. I know that actually within ownership groups, but so maybe this is actually going to bring some things together. But it is, as we get further and further from those years of unified visions, it's tougher to make things work.
Yeah, it's a situation where you need a supreme commander at the top, not the Dick Clark 5. Where you just need to have someone that has a vision, has a goal, has a mindset there, and knows what needs to be done, and just can do it, and needs it to be able to say, this is what we're doing. You could be on board, you could be left on the dock. That's your decision, but make it. And it's a very difficult thing to do, especially when you're dealing with a bunch of people that have been largely successful enough in their team, in their life, to own a baseball team, and now are being told to take orders of overseeing a probably multi-million-dollar investment. And that's a really tough thing when you said, I've had a lot of success. This is this thing I own. I spent a lot of money to own it. And now I'm being told I can't do what I want with it. I think that would rub just about anybody the wrong way. So it's a really tough thing to get the buy-in for. But when you're able to get it, normally you seem to find some good results for it. Just about every league has had a period where they had one or two like singular visionary guys involved in it, and that resulted in a net positive. If we're losing more and more of those, and really the other thing we were discussing is you look across indie ball today, and like, not to shade or go after anybody, but there's really only one or two guys that you go, yeah, no, he's got a firm command on this league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no notes on that one.
Yeah, so
and again, that's that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but it is certainly, I think, a more efficient thing? Question mark.
It's a cleaner,
potentially more efficient, cleaner. It can be, obviously. I mean, look, for every example of, and I think maybe we even talked about this recently, of every example of, man, that guy's really got a stranglehold on the league and he's got them moving. There's also the Pecos. Right. Yeah. So it can look a lot of different ways. However, I think there is sort of a model there of a lot more is possible. I would say with a lot of, I think this is fair to say, if you have someone with a strong central power within the league making decisions, sort of driving things, it raises the ceiling a great deal for the league's potential. It also drops the floor a bit. It could completely flame out. But I think that's sort of what we're looking at. And instead, when there's too many voices in the room and a lot of directions being pulled, I think you kind of end up very often sort of middling, floating between directions, which I think we're seeing in a few leagues currently.
Which I feel like is the way you got to go about with these kinds of things here. If you're in charge of a league, in charge of a team, if you're running things like that, you have to live like a fighter pilot, right? Where you're never going to die on the ground. You're going to die in the sky. You're going to find glory in the sky. It's one or the other. but just cruising low altitude, never seeing any action, and then just putting her back down to refuel before doing the same thing again. Nobody cares about that. We care about the dogfight. And either you're going to triumph or you're going to die. And either way, that's the way you got to do it. Because people don't care if it's boring. You're an entertainment product. Die swinging.
Yeah, and the other and we'll kind of wrap up here. But I also think there's something to be said for the fact that what we've learned from the past few years and the whole discussion from last week about the bananas, the college ball, and all that is you got to be like most of the time when there's a big obvious opportunity, you're too late already. And that means you have to move quickly and decisively. And not only does that take the vision, it also takes the control to make a quick, flexible decision. And you know, a lot of these things, like if you need every team on board, if you need 2/3 of an 18-team league or whatever the hell, like it starts to get a little bit difficult to make moves. And when those teams, like, and not to pick on the Frontier League, but when those teams seem to be fighting amongst each other most of the time, it complicates, you know, whatever they're dealing with and whatever decisions are being made. I mean, we've heard from people within the Frontier League that there's a popular feeling that organizations have been added to that league based on inner owner politics within the league. That's not, you can't do that. That's not how this works.
I mean, that's the one thing
that's based on the feelings of a few people in general manager owner spots. But that's
the one thing I've heard from Pioneer League land is like, or the one constant I hear is nobody likes league management. Like, I've gotten so many messages just like, I don't like the way this league is ran. Not hating the league itself, but the management in particular. They don't name names. They're just like, I wish we had new management.
And there's also a big difference too between, I don't like the people running this league and I don't like how this league is being run. Like, you can get away with one of those things. You know, a lot of the time, you know, the big dog isn't popular, but he's the big dog for a reason. A lot of the time he's the big dog because nobody's taken a shot yet and someone will. So it can go again both ways there, but it's just this is to say in many different ways, we're not endorsing one strong, firm hand running the league, but also it is endorsing the idea that it does make you a bit more viable and adaptable while also opening you up to some vulnerabilities, which is if you have the wrong guy running things, like you're really going to spiral, which, I mean, you can see on a smaller level of teams.
On that note, I think we'll switch gears and talk a little coaching carousel, because it was a big week in that regard. We have 6 pieces of news to go off of on that front here. We'll get through the easiest one here. Pete seems to be back. I feel pretty good about saying he will be back. Apparently, he was on a 2-year deal, so it runs through 26. So he's here for 25, he's here for 26. I want to make sure it was a 2-year, not 3-year deal, right? I'm not forgetting him being there in 24, right? Because it was Logan in 24, right?
Right.
No, because Logan was in Winnipeg.
Logan was there for 2. Yeah, he's been in Winnipeg for a little bit now.
Yes, so I guess it would be a 3-year deal. Yeah, because Taggart was there in 24, and Pete went to Texas. Yes, that is right. So I was wrong on that. Caught myself.
How about it?
3 years for Pete in Texas. This is the 3rd year here. I don't get the sense there's going to be a 4th year, but hey.
No.
He is
Word on the street was there wasn't going to be a 3rd year. So, interesting.
So I guess he will be back. That explains the signings. That explains the lack of an announcement. He will be back for 26. I think we all can agree 27 is firmly in doubt, which also very much tracks for Pete.
That sounds about right. Yeah. No shade. Right. Just way of the world.
Speaking of Greg Taggart, he also got an extension by Tri-City, 3-year extension, go through 28. He has improved that team and proved us very much wrong about his coaching abilities. It just appears he needed to shift gears a little bit and go to a younger league to get some better results. I will also say this does seem to imply that Tri-City will be in the Frontier League longer than their current contract is.
Right.
Now,
it's interesting.
It's not to say that they won't be, but it would be rather odd to go for that long of an extension and agree to that without some sort of, inkling that they would be close to, if not already have taken care of, a extension to remain in the Frontier League.
Yeah, I agree. That tracks from a logic standpoint.
Yeah, so I mean, bigger than the Taggart extension, which I think is a good decision. He's obviously panned out there. I think it's bigger for the Frontier League to secure a well-ran franchise for the long haul.
I agree. I mean, if you're the Frontier, we've talked about this before, so we don't have to harp on it. But just in general, the Tri-State Valley Cats have been all that you could have asked for and more if you're the Frontier League. I mean, not only are they running smoothly, but they also have like a legitimate and obvious drive to win, which is valuable within a league. You can't just have everybody looking to make a profit. You got to have a good product on the field and a good competitive product. And having people who want their hands on the trophy is big. And I think that's good to see. We were both sort of proven wrong on how this experiment with Greg would go, and I like that we have. I like that we've been proven wrong, and I also like that has paid out for him in a way where he's happy where he's at, and they're happy with him, and he's going to keep running it back. And it seems to solidify Tri-City as they're going to be a threat for multiple years moving forward. And now it's like the game is on. Quebec is there, Tri-City's there. They're battling each other, and everyone else is racing them. And I think that's a good dynamic for the league.
Definitely. And I just hope that all the boys up in the Capitol Hill region bring their running shoes because they're going to need them for the foreseeable.
Is that still happening? Do we have confirmation?
Oh, yes. More than just running. They do full-on drills, good sir.
Brother.
They run drills.
Not for everyone.
No. I will say, though, because I have multiple people with multiple teams that say, oh, yeah, they'll come in, they'll run the property, and then they'll come out, they'll do like batting drills, they'll do fielding drills. They go all out. And they're like, we're impressed by it, but we're also like, we would never make our guys do that.
No, I mean, I'm also like, are they getting this?
It works, but.
I mean, they're winning games, but like, from a development perspective, I'm curious if guys are getting signed or
not. Shifting a little bit here, we'll go back to some of the first signings of the week. Tom Carconi will be named the manager of the Windy City Thunderbolts. He was previously with Ottawa for the last 4 years. Before that, spent a year in Southern Illinois and 4 years actually, in Lincoln as well. Thoughts on Carconi?
Yeah, I mean, that was, the inside rumor I was getting was it was going to be somebody off of that Ottawa staff, and it was going to be an assistant coach off the Ottawa staff. And one of those coaches, there was only 2 listed. One was literally listed as an assistant coach, and it wasn't him. So, well, tough one. But you win some, you lose some when you're working off the scoops. But that's how it goes.
Still pretty close.
I mean, I should have just said, yeah, it's going to be an assistant coach off the team and left it. I couldn't avoid the temptation to be like, I would say this guy. And damn.
As far as Tom himself, though, thoughts on him taking the helm here?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think Windy City seems. I mean, we've been hearing that Windy City wants to win for a while. I mean, they got the ownership change, so I assume still they're looking to get wins. I know they're not thrilled about their sizable stretch with a lack of success. So making a change is definitely interesting. And the fact that, the GM and Tom do have like a long-term sort of, acquaintanceship, friendship, whatever it is. They worked together before.
Yes.
I think it's a good sign. I mean, it means that both of them should know what they're getting into, which I think is very important. And not only like as in like working with each other, but it takes, a certain rapport with the person that is, with a GM to really get the truth about what it's like working somewhere. And I assume that improves the odds of that. Where, a lot of times they're like, oh, well, we deal with this or deal with that. There's the normal budget constraints, and you talk about, what the resources are that are available for the team and things of that nature. But then all of a sudden you get there and it's like, oh, like this is worse. This isn't great. I think the familiarity there reduces the odds of, being blindsided. I think it's good that, with Toby Hall moving on to Florence, which I think is a good move for him. I think this is a good sort of reset for both, for the Bolts and for Tom. And I'm interested. I'd love to know like how long he's been looking to manage a pro team, because he has sort of a weird.
That's history, what I was wondering too. Yeah, because he's been a hitting coach, he's been an assistant coach, bench coach, whatever you want to call it, for pretty much his whole coaching career for about a decade now. So you would have figured at some point he would have had an opportunity. He does seem to have followed Bobby Brown wherever he went.
Yeah.
Exception of 1 year here. So that's an interesting call as well. I mean, he seems to earned this. I'm still skeptical about a first-year manager. We'll see how it goes. But like you said, familiarity is always a good thing. On the same page is, important. We just discussed the importance of having a vision and being able to execute it. So that definitely helps here. I think it's interesting. It's definitely a team that has struggled mightily.
I know, it's kind of impressive.
I don't really know what to make.
Cultural shift over there that needs to happen. That I guess would be my one hesitation. If I was Windy City, I think I'd be drawn, frankly, to. I'm trying to pull a name, but maybe I'll resist the temptation. Instead, maybe I would have gone, and it's so hard to say this. I don't say this as a criticism or a critique of Tom, who's frankly work I'm not overly acquainted with. So I'm not really speaking to that. I am just, again, from my perspective, I'm interested and intrigued by the fact that they didn't go with potentially sort of a younger, high energy manager. Again, don't know much about Tom's style, so maybe this is that move. One that might be a little more of a vibe change. I think, you know what I mean? Like really try to give this thing a jolt and bring something different and new energy to this sort of ongoing machine that, it's like that meme of my body is a machine that turns this into that. Like right now, the Windy City Thunderbolts are a machine that turns seasons into mediocre results. And that's just been that way. And so they need something, a shock to the system, a bolt of lightning, if you will. I would just, that's the only reason I really found this interesting, though, from what I understand, this has been something that he's been, Tom's been looking to do. So I assume also he has been spending time preparing for the opportunity.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anytime, honestly, as much as I like to say, it's always good, like having that rapport with the GM already. You know what you're getting into. It also is a red flag, because how many times is like, I brought my friend in, and it's like, this was a bad idea. Like this did not go well.
Fair enough. Going to another one we kind of called Mark Mutakasi, named manager of Hagerstown, obviously with Stan Island the last couple of years. Before that, with Frederick / Spire City. Before that, a Wild Health Genome. Before that, what was it? Still a Dirty Bird, or would that have been West Virginia? It was the Dirty
Bird / Power. Yes,
the powerful Dirty Birds, if you would. I think we've talked about Mark a good bit on this show, so we want to just kind of summarize our thoughts here.
This makes sense. I think Hagerstown's a really exciting opportunity. I think. So again, the rumors around the thing have been that in their second season, it sounds like Hagerstown was able to break even and actually turn a little bit of a profit. And again, the further rumor on that one is that profit is being turned back into the team, which is an interesting dynamic, a rare dynamic. Talk about how many different types of owners there are within one indie league. So that is something they definitely, and we got this from the mid-season manager move this past year.
Yes.
They are looking for the on-field success to match the off-the-field success. And I don't know philosophically if they feel that the on-field struggles will eventually start to impact the on-field success. I don't know if they feel that, there's a limited, how long can we be this bad at baseball before we start to lose some fans, even if the off-field product is good? I don't know how they feel about that, but if that is the case, or even if it's not, but they seem interested in winning some ball games, I think it would be I think there's definitely an opportunity there for Mark to really get wins with an invested ownership group. He's had a tough go. I mean, he's done the Andy Shea mess. Talk about somebody who's a friend of the GM who brought him in. Then Staten Island, which, I mean, if you need to wonder what Staten Island spending is like, they're a frustrating one, and I'm not going to go too into it right now, but they seem to be one where they got an owner with plenty of money and they're just not putting into the team. And if you're like, oh, I don't know if that's true, look at their transactions for like the last 4 to 6 weeks of a season. It's all local dudes where they don't have to worry about transportation and housing. It's just, and no offense to my Northeast friends, I'm living here too. You can get away with that in parts of this country. Staten Island really ain't the one where you can be like, oh, just pull local cats and they're going to crush. Like, that's not really how we're doing it. So it's just not, you can see especially, Mark's a guy who's well connected and he can usually bring a guy in. I mean, how many rosters has he built from scratch the past few years? And you're just watching him, bring in D2 level talent from, North Jersey. And you're like, damn, all right. So I guess we're just not spending money now. So that's, I think, getting out of Staten Island is the primary win here, and then landing in Hagerstown, I think, is the secondary one for Mark.
I'm just looking for him to put together a complete season here.
Yeah, he really struggles to do that.
Yeah, that's my big thing here. I'd like to see him just give me a full season, even if it's 500 baseball and you do 500 halves. I'll take that.
Surely. I don't know. I'm hesitant on that one because, boy, is Hagerstown really, I mean, he is building off of nothing. I mean, nothing. I did a deep dive at one point on that roster. I counted 4 guys I would keep. And they were not starters, really, in my mind, for the Atlantic League. So I think some patience will be needed. But I would say let's see some growth. Let's see an improvement, a steady improvement throughout the season. And then maybe next year we start to be like, all right, let's get the consistency cooking and let's make a run at this thing. He's battling in, the Atlantic League is a demonic entity at this point. If you're a team like Hagerstown, I mean, they went 31-95 last season. They're going to be going to one division apparently. So that means in their division, clogging up playoff spots. There's going to be 4 playoff spots. It sounds like you're going to have York, presumably, Long Island, presumably, Lancaster, presumably, High Point, presumably, Gastonia, presumably. That's 5 nasty teams for 4 spots. And you figure Southern Maryland was 10 games above 500 last year. Possibly they could make a run. Charleston has PJ back, so that could be a thing. Lexington is above 500. Like, it is a nightmare league to navigate right now. So it's going to be brutal, but you got to start the path somewhere, I guess.
I suppose. Going to the last 2 here, they kind of go in tandem. So first we get Les Lancaster, named manager of Idaho Falls, previously Rocky Mountain, also some time in Sioux City, but Rocky Mountain's the main thing here, which is odd because I kind of assumed Percival was going to be back. But then we get, through a media announcement, not team, but media, Troy Percival named manager of Long Beach, previously with Idaho Falls the last 2 years, including a finals appearance. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So tandem here, Les does not seem to be the I've heard mixed things about Les, I'll put it like that. And I just don't necessarily know if he's the right guy for Idaho Falls, but he's experienced, I guess.
And he knows Idaho.
And then flip side there, I like Percival going to Long Beach. I think that has some good potential there. Plus, what Angel fans exist in Long Beach are probably going to love that too. So that's nice.
Right. I mean, I'll say, Idaho Falls has turned out good results under Percival in kind of like a funky league. Like, I don't know. It's always a weird league and it's always a weird situation to try to succeed in. But we mentioned, they had the best offense in the league, again, for what's worth, based on where they're at. And the pitching was hit or miss. But, they were third in the league overall last year, which is saying something. I mean, Oakland was probably the best Pioneer League team we've seen. It definitely was. Missoula was Missoula. And then right behind them was Idaho Falls. So there's success there. And there's potential there.
That's a build-up, not much, too.
Right, exactly. So I think Troy Percival really has a talent for this. Les Lancaster, I mean, there's a lot to say on Les. I'm always hesitant of a guy that bumps around as much as Les does. That goes, I think, you can say that. I mean, where he was Rocky Mountain last season, it's hard to judge anything that happened there. But they did, I guess, come out above 500, but they also had to play NOCO 75 times, it seemed like. So I don't know, man. What do you make of Les? He is Jeff Fisher, if I could make a football reference. Like, I mean, in Sioux City, he went 52-44, immediately went 40-56, and then 49-47. And then he went one game above 500 with Rocky Mountain, 6 games below, and then exactly 500. I don't know.
It kind of is. I'd say it gives me more Jerry Manuel vibes.
That's not a bad thought. I don't know. I can't even think of one. What's his face? And it's so funny that I can't think of it. The manager, the dude who's been managing Washington the last several years, and you're like, wow, that guy managed a lot of losing baseball, but I forgot he'd been there for years. And and I follow baseball closely, and if you were like, who manages Washington? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's kind of like that. It's just, he quietly goes about things. They're always middle of the pack.
Oh, to grab more former Met talent here, kind of like Manny Acna.
Outside of his time managing, I just feel like he's sort of bounced around to a lot of different staffs, and that's always my flag with him. I don't know.
But yeah, so that's where the coaching carousel's landing for now. I'm sure we'll have more updates, probably involving Pioneer League teams that are being real. And maybe we'll get an update on Chicago, and we'll see if Passarella's back or not. Because at this point, I assume he's back. But I
don't think so, dude.
Well, then why are we getting an announcement one way or the other? Then again, this is an organization that will wait until Christmas Day.
I would not be surprised. So I've heard they have somebody. I heard the announcement should be coming soon. We said it before, I would assume Passarelli has to be an option for Staten Island at this point. But I from what I hear, they seem to have somebody, and there should be an announcement soon. Who that person is, that's something I don't have. The rumor over and over again from every corner is Stan Clyburn. And then you go through, you can never talk to Stan straight up, but if you go through people close to Stan, every time it's like, nah, Stan seems to be staying in place. And you're like, oh, what does that mean, though? Does anyone know what he's doing? Does anyone know where Stan is? Where is Stan? Does anybody have his number? Does he go by carrier pigeon? What's the deal with Stan Clyburn?
Why is Stan's phone
so
number?
There's a mystery, essentially, going on. Yeah, well, it might not be his number anymore for all we know. So I don't know, man. It would be interesting. And then if that happens, now we're in a different situation. Southern Maryland would have to scramble to find somebody. Interesting. If they don't get somebody who's there, does that open another position and starts the whole camp? It gets the carousel going again. It's like carousel slowing down. It's like somebody kicks it and gets momentum again. So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall see. Two quick pieces here. One involving Southern Maryland. They accidentally leaked that the team in the league will be going to home team for their streaming next year. Thoughts on that?
Oh, why did they announce that in a press release?
No, what they did was they slapped that thing on to a season ticket ad.
Classic.
For those wondering, there is a Twitter post. We'll link that and everything we mentioned in the show notes as always.
Yeah,
but
I'm fine with it.
I like Home Team. I don't hate it. I just wish we could get a TV app.
Yeah, I don't hate it. They need they need a TV app. I do think we'll see. I think there's possibilities the Home Team would be pretty good. I think better than Flow and maybe more affordable. There's only one Flow league. I'm hoping Pioneer League moves on, but we'll see. They have bigger issues. The rumor was that the Atlantic League was working on their own streaming platform. The fact there hasn't been an official announcement yet makes me wonder, you could try to announce a streaming platform closer to actual baseball, but you want people to have time to subscribe and all that stuff. So I do wonder if they were working for their own thing and then they couldn't make it work and they had to start negotiating with someone new. My main hope is that via Flow or Home Team or whatever, I can still see old games because I like to pull video whenever I can on whether it's a players or for a video or whatever. But that's my main concern, but that's kind of in the weeds. Yeah, I mean, that's fine by me. Home Team is fine.
Yeah.
They're no better or worse than the other ones,
Just toss me a discount code and I'm happy.
I know that's how you feel about it.
That's really where I come to. You want good in-season coverage? Make with the codes.
Or just get somebody who will repost other people's stuff, but make it their own.
People like that, I'm sure, are employed with their own jobs to do.
Well, they must be, and they're doing a valuable thing. Anyway,
yeah,
I mean, are we down to our last topic here?
We have to talk about Modesto holding a presser with their team
that's
name.
the one I've been looking forward to, because good Lord.
Yes. So just a quick fill-in here. Out of seemingly nowhere, Modesto, the Glow Riders, if you would, at least for now, posted at 6:00 Eastern time a media advisory on their Twitter page, which apparently has Dave Heller's phone number. I assume it's his office number.
I assume, yeah.
Yeah. And the release goes as follows. Main Street Baseball owns the new Pioneer League expansion franchise slated to play in Modesto, California in 2026. Will announce the team's new primary identity and reveal the club's new caps and logos. The team will also announce the future of the Glow Riders name and logo. And you're going to have Dave Heller there as well as JT Snow. It's going to be at the American Graffiti Museum. And it's going to be at 10:30 Pacific time. So that'd be 1:30 Eastern time, 12:30 Central for those in that time zone. That's going to be on the 24th of November. So it'll be, I believe, Monday. It should be announced. So we'll get to see what that has in store for us. But it would appear as though there was some pushback in the community and that this supposed fan vote was not nearly as popular as we were once led to believe, and that the actual concerns about this being a less than stellar selection more than a concern.
Yeah, I'm looking something up here because I have an alternate theory as well. Let me see. Hold on, let me check this, because this would be an interesting one and sort of time as a flat circle type of situation. My other thought is Fresno. Fresno does the Copa weekend things where they, do like a Mexican League style, alternate identity. And they are the Fresno Lowriders, or at least they have been the Fresno Lowriders. I don't know if they're still doing it or not. I think they might be. At least they're doing Lowriders nights. But I wonder, if there was some legal concern potentially about having another California baseball team called the Lowriders, and then you come out and name your team the Glow Riders. That could also be there. So yeah. I don't know. And we're sensitive to it because we all remember what happened with the New England Chowder Heads, RIP on that one.
Yeah, it just feels like we've stopped doing our quality control checks.
Almost like when you rush things out. That's what happens.
Like, we knew Modesto was trending this way for a while, right? Like, this didn't need to be rushed. This could have been held out for quite some time. And I understand you want to get merchandise out for the holiday season, but like, could have been announced like first full week of December.
They still do the low riders de Fresno, by the way.
Oh, that's good.
I do think they had the website set up like a month in advance, but they haven't done much with that website. That's the other thing. The Glow Rider website is also very much like, yikes. I don't know. A lot of this just feels very rushed and thrown together. And I don't want to say too much because I have a couple calls this weekend where I'm hoping to get more information. But Pioneer League is still trying to figure out their schedule, and they still have 11 teams. They do have 11 teams right now, and they have debated a travel team. So there are multiple fish to fry in the Pioneer League, and those fish are starting to stink a little bit. So got to get figured out.
Total detour from everything that we're talking about here.
Attaboy.
Potentially a more fun detour. Right now, there's a Reddit thread about Kelsey Whitmore going first overall in the Women's Pro League draft.
Oh, God. Okay.
It is wild right now watching people. It's in our baseball, in case you're wondering. Oh, just discovered the Atlantic League, and they really don't have any idea what it is. And like, people are like, well, look, she got like 14 punchies in 23 innings. That's clearly a great sign. She must have great stuff. And like, being so deeply intertwined in this.
So, dude, I did not take the same thing from this. What I took from this was the people who were in the weeds enough to be on the R baseball Reddit, like, don't have good familiarity with indie ball.
Yes.
Guys who are losing the battle start to lock in, begging you. And look, that's on me too. I should be doing better content. And I'm doing it. I'm going to do better content. I'm on it. I'm going to do better content. I need you guys to start doing better marketing. It's a deal. We're going to do this.
Partially, yeah, but also, let's be real here. Redditors are not normal people.
I know, but like, they're kind of sickos, and that's what indie ball is about.
Yes, but these are chart people. And there have been arguments on this website that go, locker room chemistry doesn't matter. And I was just like, yeah, no, these people are idiots.
Right. But familiarity. The idiots have money too.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that these are idiots that generally, they only care about MLB.
We'll see. And Kelsey Whitmore.
It's more virtue signaling about women's sports. If you read the thread, it's strictly virtue signaling.
Yeah, that's about right.
And people think that they're an amateur stat. And by amateur scout, I mean they are now just discovering she has a baseball reference page.
Yes, saw that.
Yeah. I'm just saying I'm going to take these people as a sample size.
All right, I choose to believe that too then.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking that's going to do it for us for the week. Kind of a fun week.
Yeah, and busy one, crazy one.
Yeah, hopefully it keeps up. Start doing interviews in December. I'm going to get that actually worked out. I'd like to do like each month of the off season, we spotlight a different league and just do a bunch of interviews with people from that league that month. Keep it kind of trend based, but we'll see if we can make something like that work out. Also, we're going to have the Q&A coming up soon too. I guess we'll do that. Let's pick a date right now. We want to do that for 20 or 27?
December?
Yeah. Week before or after Christmas? Or week of Christmas, I should say.
I probably prefer to do 27th.
That's what I was thinking too. I think that works better because then it makes it a little bit easier with the holiday to know we're just doing the Q&A.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'm on board.
So we say questions in by 22?
Sure.
All right, cool.
That works for me.
That's exactly a month from the day this episode comes out. So you got a month to get all your questions
nice.
So nice and clean, nice and easy. Get the questions in. It could be about literally anything involving the show, us, or independent ball. It could be a question. It could just be a topic you want brought up for discussion, whatever you want. You could DM Ryan. You could DM me. You could go ahead and email the show. Contact information for anything involving the show is on the website, indieballreport.com. For me, it's indieballpod Pod on Twitter, Indie Ball Report everywhere else. Leave the questions there, and we'll write them down. We'll get to them, and more questions, longer the episode is strictly Q&A. We will not talk any news at that time. So if there's 3 questions, the episode is 3 questions long. If there's 30, it's 30 questions long.
We had a lot of questions last year, I think.
We did.
We have slightly less, but we had some very in-depth questions. That's what it was.
We've had some good Q&As over the last few years.
Really honing in our market full of crazies. Love
exactly.
You guys.
The psycho. When you start getting business-related questions, that's when you know.
Oh, that's when you know. Yeah, you're right. When we're talking about the finances. Yeah, fair enough.
Yes. So while I pull up the answer to your how many questions we got question, why don't you do your plugs?
Indie Ball Nation on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Let's see if you hold me to it. I just said I'm going to start doing more content, so let's see if I do it. I'm editing my postseason words now. It's November 21st. Still counts. If I go any further, though, I think it becomes preseason. So, not great.
Looks like we got 23, 26, 27 questions last year.
There you go.
And the year before we had 30, 33 the year before.
Sheesh.
So we're normally good for around 30, it seems to be.
Yeah.
So that's what we're shooting for here. So let's try to get that again. So yeah, we got all that to look forward to and more. We'll be back next week with probably more carousel and more news. But until then, don't forget to play ball.